So I have a really good friend named Luke that goes on a lot of walks with me, always asks me for advice. And he's 22 years old, and he asked me, what would you do if you were me? What kind of advice would you give me? So I gave him like a list of like 10 different things that I suggest he do that I would have done, that I wish somebody would have told me when I was 22 years old or 18 years old, that would have changed my life. And you might say, well, who are you to give advice? What have you done? Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit of who I am. I'm just a regular guy that studied and worked hard, and I have a lot of freedom. And that's what I have to show for my life. I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of friends that were real estate investors like me, and they bought hundreds of buildings now. And I bought a few buildings, and I realized like, hey, I have enough to get by. I have enough to pay my bills. I have enough to do what I want. And if I go beyond this, it's just gonna add more stress. So along the way, I always did what they call a cost-benefit analysis, something I learned in business school. You might get more money or more responsibility or more power or fame, but there's a cost to it, okay? And living in Hollywood, I work with people that are famous, they're celebrities, actors, singers, etc. And I talk to them, I've learned from them. They tell me, yeah, it's pretty stressful being, a big movie star, because people always asking me for autographs or following me around or taking pictures of me. And I realized like, wow, that's really cool. And it's admirable what they accomplished and what these billionaires accomplished and everything else. But for me, that's not exactly what I wanted in my life. I realized I wanted different things. And the thing that really helped shape me was my older brother, Bobby. When I was 28, he was 32, he passed away from AIDS. And I remember taking care of him for a few months before he passed away and talking to him. And I really loved to travel. He really loves to travel. And that's what we talked about a lot. We talked about how when he got better, the first thing we're gonna do is go traveling and all the places we're gonna go to. Unfortunately, he did not get better, so he didn't end up making it. But it helped me realize that, wow, life is temporary. Sure, we reincarnate, we start over again, but this life is short and we don't always have a lot of time to do the things we want. And over the years, that's been reinforced. Working in hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, all the places I've worked at, I've seen thousands of people pass away that were super cool, all ages. And I realized like, wow, a lot of times we're thinking life is permanent. We think we're gonna have time for stuff, but the reality is we don't. We usually run out of time, and we don't have enough time to do all the things we want. Even if you focus on doing everything you want to do, you're probably not going to have enough time. There just isn't enough time. So when I see my friends have 20 cars, multiple houses and all this kind of stuff, I think it's really cool. I respect it. I admire it. I respect their work ethic. But for me, I'd rather just have one really nice American car, have a cool place to live, and have freedom. And as long as you work, you have your basic necessities, and then you of course build up a cushion. Then you want to focus on self-enlightenment, travel, education, things that help you feel more fulfilled personally, whatever it might be. For me personally, I just like to have freedom. I like to be able to travel whenever I want, go wherever I want, as long as I want, travel with large groups of people if I want, like take my whole family, some of my friends with me traveling. I'm able to fund and do all those things. So I feel very fortunate and blessed. I've been able to study, I've been able to save, I've been able to just have whatever experience that I want. I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And those sound like really simple things, but when you travel around the world, it really gives you a great education. It teaches you that way. You can't take anything for granted. You might think, well, what's the big deal about having water? Well, most people don't have water, have clean water. Having food, having housing. So I've learned to be very grateful, and that's helped the abundance in my life grow, and it's helped me become very happy. So let me give you my top 10 tips. First recommendation is become a vegetarian. Ovo-lacto vegetarian. So why does that matter? Okay, I work in health. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm an occupational therapist. And I see that the thing that number one impacts people's health and longevity and happiness is how they feel and how they treat themselves. So you just want to make sure you're eating healthy. If you eat healthy, you eat a plant-based ovo-lacto vegetarian diet or just a vegan diet that's plant-based, you're going to live longer. You're going to have less aches, less pains. Your brain's going to work better. You're going to be more productive. You're just going to feel better, and you're going to be able to enjoy things better. As the years have progressed, I'm 51. I talk to my friends, I see colleagues, I see people in the 30s, 40s, and they're already hurt. They're hurting. They have high blood pressure. They have erectile dysfunction. They have high cholesterol. They have brain fog. They have aches and pains. They have surgeries for their back, for their hip, and all that kind of stuff. I work with people like that every day in work. And it's great that we have the science to help people like that, but 90% of it could have been prevented by eating a vegetarian diet. So, all that time you're down is downtime. I got jumped by two guys. I broke my leg. They told me they're going to cut my leg off. And then I tried to rehab it and heal it, which I did. They told me I was going to be bed for 3 years. And every day I just focused on, I'm going to lose 3 years of my life. I'm not traveling and doing cool stuff that I like. Said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I recovered in 9 months, but still, I learned a lot. I enjoyed the experience, but those were 9 months that I was not doing things that I had planned or wanted to really do. So you really want to make sure that you're taking good care of your health. And the easiest way to do it is just to eat a plant-based diet. Don't eat processed food. Don't, avoid salt, sugar, oils, all that stuff. Just eat fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds. Keep it simple. That'll help you live longer, and you're going to enjoy the time here. You're not going to be overweight. You don't have to be taking a bunch of pharmaceutical, medications and stuff. It's just going to make life way simpler. Number 2, I would join the reserves. Now, I never joined the military. I wanted to. I tried like 3 different times, but every time my destiny took me somewhere else. But I really think the military is a really good thing, especially if you don't have resources. It just opens up a lot of gateways for you. You have healthcare, you get discipline, you get life experience. It helps you grow up, especially a lot of young people now. They're saying they're about 3 to 6 years behind in development because they're less social than previous generations. If you go to the military, you're going to be around a lot of people. You're going to socialize. It's going to help you grow up faster. And in the places where I'm the business owner or I have employees, I notice that the young people, they lack a lot of maturity. So definitely the military would be a good thing, and it gives you lifelong benefits. It's just something that's a game changer. It really gets you ahead of the game, especially if you don't have the resources or the background. It just puts you in a different level. You can get loans, you can get home loans, you get school loans, you get some respect. You get priority the rest of your life. Every job application I've ever filled out said, are you a military veteran? So depending on the country, of course, in some places you have to do it whether you want to or not, or some places you don't want to be in the military because it's not a very nice place. But in general, especially if you're American, I would say the reserves would be my number 2. Join the military. Number 3 is kind of a combination. It's basically to study. Okay, get some type of skill. Now, if you were in the military, then you get the GI Bill. That pays for everything. But even if you're not in the military and you choose not to, that's fine. Just make sure you get a skill. One thing I hear a lot from young people and I see on social media is, oh, you don't need a college education. You can do this, you do that. And I've actually met a lot of patients and people I know that say, oh, I dropped out of school. Why? Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know what? That's just not a good thing to do. Not a good thing. I mean, I went to like 9 different schools. And, going to school was just one of my greatest experiences. It's just so cool. It just brings the best out of you. It teaches you a lot of things, the experience, the discipline, the knowledge you gain. It just sculpts you into a better person, and your whole life changes it. All of the opportunities and the abundance that I've had and will have in my life are a result of me going to school. If I would not have went to school, that would have not been good. Now, I've read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, very good book. I totally agree with most of it, but the school part, I don't. You can go to school and you can still become, business owners, all this other stuff. But going to school is just life-changing. And for most people, it's going to open a lot of doors for you. Again, it's going to put you ahead of other people. And I think it's really unfortunate, actually, that there's people out there telling young people not to go to school. Now, you don't have to go to USC or Harvard and get a PhD. You can become a plumber. You can become an electrician. Just go to school, get some type of degree, textbook degree, become a nurse, an LVN, a therapy assistant, anything. Right now, electricians can make in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, welders, HVAC workers, all this stuff is really good. It's just gonna give you a foundation instead of having to float around. I've had friends 30 years later, they're still floating around. I go, what are you doing? Oh, I'm looking for a job. Oh, I'm going to the mall. I'm going to Track Auto. I'm going to the supermarket to put in applications. I'm so grateful that I've never had to do that. I did do it when I was a teenager going to college. And I just remember I put in 100 applications and maybe 2 people would call me. And I thought, God, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with me. It's just there's a lot of people that don't have skills. So you're competing against a lot of unskilled labor, and a lot of times, even undocumented labor. People that don't have papers, they charge less. So it's just business. They're gonna take people that are cheaper, work harder maybe they think, you know, whatever they might think. So if you have an education, people need you. They have to pay. So I'm not even looking for a job, and I get probably 10 to 20 calls a day, emails, text messages, you know, people looking for a naturopathic doctor, a therapist, or, you know, whatever one of my other skills I have. It just makes life way easier. You're able to pick and choose. And when I don't like a particular job, I can just bail. So you know what, I'm out, man. I don't like the new management. I don't like the way they're treating me. Not to say I'm fickle or I'm a prima donna, nothing like that. I'm a very hardworking person. I try to be as low maintenance as possible, but it's just nice to have some flexibility. Some people get trapped in a life situation that they just don't like. And when you have an education, you have a lot of opportunities. You don't have to worry about anything. Number 3, I'd say exercise. Make exercise non-negotiable. I started lifting weights when I was about 12 years old, but I was exercising before that. I would play tetherball. I'd go on the street and play baseball, football. You know, I'd play sports, tag or whatever with my friends. We always played. I was always active, and I started lifting weights. I started wrestling. I ran cross country. I did track. I did football. I did basketball. I did track and field. I played tennis, and then I started learning 6 different types of martial arts. It's just fun. It gives you mental clarity. It makes you stronger. It gives you confidence. You learn discipline, and then your body just works better. I mean, humans are made to move. You know, if you don't move, you're missing out on a lot of fun. You know, playing beach volleyball, swimming, hiking, surfing. To some people, they're hearing that and saying, oh God, it sounds like a lot of work. It's probably because you're out of shape and it's work for you, but I get real pleasure out of it. I remember going to play basketball and I lose track. It was 12 hours later, and I was like, God, I haven't even eaten all day. It's just so fun. So using your body to engage in activities, you're gonna look better, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna have higher performance. When you do your professional life, you know, your work or whatever, other people are gonna be tired. I don't get tired. I can work 12 to 20 hours a day. I don't get tired. I'm physically fit and I eat healthy. And it's not to, you know, show off or anything, but it's just a fact of life. Humans are made to move. If you move, you're gonna work better. You're just gonna be more successful. It's just plain facts. Number 5, don't use drugs, smoke, drink. That stuff is lame. It gives you no benefit. I can tell you from experience, working at drug rehabs, working at psych rehabs, working at pulmonary rehab hospitals, it's just not good, okay? It's gonna just cause you problems. There's absolutely no benefit. In fact, I still get patients telling me, but doc, you know, they say a bottle, you know, a glass a day of wine and resveratrol and wine and this and that. You know what? They did a long-term study over decades with thousands of people, and they just finished most of it last year, and they said that not even a glass of wine is recommended anymore. No amount of alcohol is safe. You might say, well, how boring. Well, you know, you got to find pleasure in other things. You know what I mean? Alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, it's just a drag on you. It's going to lower your productivity. It's going to decrease your lifespan. You're going to have to deal with problems like COPD, asthma, liver disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, brain problems, psychiatric problems, depression, anxiety. I mean, it's not a good trade-off in my mind. You're not getting your money's worth. Again, cost-benefit analysis, very low return. Even if you say, yeah, if I want to call up my buddies to drink for the weekend, okay, but you know, I still have another 60 years to go. You know, I don't want to jack that up for one weekend. You might say, well, wait a minute, it's only a weekend. Well, that's because when you go to the hospital, you see people that went for just a weekend and they OD'd, or, you know, they had an aneurysm, or they had a stroke or a heart attack, or they got hit by a car, they fell out of a window, they overdosed, they're an alcoholic now. I mean, it's just not worth it. They get in car accidents, they kill other people to drunk driving. So in my opinion, the whole deal is just very low return on investment. It's like nothing. I go to parties all the time. I have a lot of friends. Some of them drink, smoke, do drugs. That's cool. Whatever they want to do, everybody should do whatever they want. Totally cool. But if I'm getting advice to someone, don't do it. I've never done it. I did drink in my, you know, teen years up to like 21. At 21, I decided I'm never doing it again. I've never done it again. Never smoked, never tried any pot. Nothing, no benefits, just not worth it. Number 6, travel. All right, so a lot of people think, well, travel, oh yeah, I want to tell everybody I've been to, this country. It's not about ego, it's not about numbers. I have friends that travel and they'll go to like one day in India and say they went to India, or they went like one day here. It's like, no, that's not really traveling. That's just like trying to get a notch on your belt, and nothing wrong with that. If that's what your goal is, that's what you want to do, totally cool. But traveling, just in general, doesn't matter how many places you go to or how little, just get out. Why? Because it gives you perspective. I have friends that are really wealthy and they have 20 cars, they have all this stuff, and they never travel. Why? Because they don't want to spend their money. They tell me, I don't want to waste that money. I want to save my money for a new kitchen, or I'm buying this new car. And again, back to what we were talking about earlier, life is temporary. You know what I mean? When you bail and you transition, what's going to happen to that car and that new kitchen? Nothing. Someone else is going to enjoy it. All you did was do all the work so someone else can enjoy it. So I try to stay away from those material things as much as possible. Try to focus on experiences, and travel is definitely one of the greatest returns on investment. I studied 15 years, awesome time studying, but traveling is like, whoa. One day over here, I'm in Santa Monica, Colombia. Look at this place. I'm in an Airbnb. This is across the street from me. I went out and swam in the ocean this morning. This is cool. And one day traveling, it's like a month of university for me. For 2 months. It's very, very intellectually stimulating. The sights, the smells, the culture, the foods, it's just nothing like it. So if you're intellectual, you like to learn, this is very stimulating. Just going out and getting perspective. And a lot of times when I talk to people, patients, friends, colleagues, doctors, PhD scientists, it's really interesting. They're brilliant, but then I realize like some of them don't travel, so they have a very limited frame of reference or perspective on life. And that doesn't mean they're not intelligent. It just makes me realize that, wow, this is a really vital part of education. I wish that instead of like summer school, if we could do it, like in a lot of schools, they would send kids traveling for the whole summer. Just send them somewhere, anywhere, Mexico or the Middle East or something, so they can learn about other cultures and just kind of broaden their horizons. It really teaches you to have respect for people and compassion. And it teaches you like to understand that we're all the same. You don't have to be worrying about, religion or national origin or color of your skin or all that stuff. All those things come from ignorance. And the more you travel, the wiser you become. You become more accepting of people. And in your social circles and your professional life, you treat people better and you just get along well better, because you're not looking at, oh, they're different. They smell or they look or they dress. All that is like, oh, cool. All right. Something new. You learn from it. Number 7. Now, this one might sound kind of lame, but let me explain it. Read a book every week. Why? Okay, now, I studied a long time. I went to school, I studied math and science and chemistry and organic chemistry and physics and whatever, and all that stuff was cool, and it really helped me develop my mind into a big boy so I could think better. But reading is different. It's like so stimulating, okay? The real travesty, I see a lot of people and they don't read, and I just kind of feel like, oh man, I wish they could read more. And the reason why is when I read stuff, for example, Malcolm Gladwell, I really like that writer. He has some really interesting books. And I read his books and I think, wow, it's not about facts. Anybody can go learn a bunch of facts and spit them out, and that's cool. But when you read, you learn perspective. And perspective is what makes you successful in life. A lot of people think it's how much you know. Sure, knowledge is important, but one thing that we learn in America and that differentiates Americans and makes us great, gives us American exceptionalism, is we're able to think outside the box. So when you think differently and you get perspective, that can't be really formed from studying in school. It comes from life and from reading about other people's lives and their perspectives. So I like to read a lot. I like to read bibliographies. I like to learn what made Bill Gates, why? Well, because he started learning about computers when he was 12. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, this got a really interesting life. Thomas Jefferson or Elon Musk or all these people that are changing our world. Well, what drove them? Because we're all the same. I'm the same as them. Our intelligence is about the same. So what's going on? Why are they so different? their perspective. So, you really have to work on your perspective. And the way you can develop that is by reading books. Reading books just kind of like pushes you to exercise like critical thinking and just think differently from everybody. And it just really draws out the best out of you reading books. So my suggestion for developing your emotional awareness, your vocabulary, your strategy, just try to read one book a week. You don't want to read big ones, and read a real tiny one. And over time, like you'll get to the bigger ones. And sometimes I'm reading and I just get like a rush of like pleasure. Like if I'm eating a piece of cheesecake and I'm like, wow, that is so cool. Because sometimes you read some book and some author's writing about some idea they have, and it's something that maybe you thought about, but you've never really discussed from anybody. And you're like, oh, that's how it works. That's how this person thinks. That's really cool. And it really triggers curiosity. It makes you hungry. It makes you want to learn more. I've learned more from reading books than anything else in my life. And on that same note, you want to avoid stuff that steals your attention and your focus. Like information. There's a lot of information. You can get overdosed, like looking at social media. I closed all of my social media accounts. Not the best investment in time. A lot of it is stuff that's made up or people's opinions that are not necessarily true. There's some benefits to everything, of course. I'm not knocking it totally, but it steals your attention. It robs your focus. I see a lot of young people. I used to work in schools for 8 years, seeing people with learning disabilities, attention problems, and now I see it in adults. A lot of people are they're looking at flash frames all day. These social media accounts are designed to kind of draw you in and be addictive. I've read that the average American consumes about 3 hours a day of social media. That's a terrible waste of time. You could really invest that in something more productive. And some patients, they try to argue with me, oh, but doc, I'm learning, I'm watching the news. And, read the newspaper, it's better. Get rid of all the nonsense and just read fact. Newspapers are really good. They have editors, they fact check. They're gonna see stuff that's real. I can tell you, like probably 80% of the time when I'm talking to patients, I'm just like talking about myths that they see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Just stuff that's not true about vaccines or medicine or the world, or, just go to the real stuff. Go to the facts, read books, read, scientists, and read interesting stuff. Don't let people steal your attention or your focus with wasting your time in social media. Number 8, anchor yourself in spirituality. I studied theology when I was in school, and I realized something really cool. I thought of all these wars and, people, oh, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jewish, I'm Buddhist or whatever, and we're better, we're this. No, man. Actually, we're all the same. And just focus on whatever it is you believe in. I'm Catholic. I study Buddhism. I like to read about other religions. Whatever you believe in is totally cool. God presents himself in different forms to people. When you study religion, you realize they're all pretty much the same. Basic principles. Sure, they're slightly different with culture and some of the practices, but fundamentally, they give you something to anchor yourself to. It teaches you to be gracious, to believe in a higher being, to have purpose in life. It really anchors you morally. I think it's really important for people to go to church, so definitely develop a spiritual practice. The people I know that have a spiritual practice, they're just more sound in general. Morally sound, they're happier, they have community, so there's a lot of benefits to anchoring yourself spiritually. Number 9, join some high quality social circles. I'm a Freemason. One of the reasons I joined was because in some of the circles I was at, the people were good, but I was talking to my friends, and I have a lot of really good friends, but some people are focused on money, some people are focused on sex or pleasure or whatever. And that's not all there is to life. There's more to that. And when I became a Freemason, for me, it was really good because I was talking to people that were morally sound, just want to help people, just want to improve themselves. And that really helps motivate me. I volunteer, I do environmental work. I like being around people that are optimistic, they want to help, they want to make a difference in the world. That really helps with your social circles, your network, just like in general, your way of thinking and looking at life. If you're just hanging around with people that are kind of low level, I know people that have a lot of money, but that doesn't mean they have a lot of class. And the way they talk, the way they act, the way they live is just not very cool. As an example, I think about like drug traffickers or narcos. Like, sure, they have a lot of money, but they live a terrible life. They have to hide somewhere. They can't go out and do stuff. They have to look over their shoulder, see who's watching them, who wants to hurt them. That's not the way to live. I've learned that hanging around with, morally sound people really helps you live a better quality life. So that's really important, to join social groups where you can meet people that are like-minded. And number 10, investing. Investing is huge. You know, a lot of young people I see, my tenants, you know, people I work with that I treat, they just kind of squander their money, and I feel sorry for them. I'm like, God, why do they waste all this money? I have these tenants that live in this beautiful house. They're great people, they're hardworking, and they're always like struggling. And when I go over their house to do repairs or something, all I see is all this food like from Whole Foods, and they're always throwing away furniture. Always giving away clothes. I take it, I use my furniture. All the furniture in my house is free. I get from tenants. I don't waste my money on that stuff. I put it in Vanguard. As much as you can afford, you know, don't squander your money. Money is life. Every time you're gonna spend money, just do something real simple. Do a calculation. Okay, this is what rich people do. If I'm gonna go buy something, and let's say I make 50 bucks an hour, and it costs me $500 for a new laptop or something. Well, laptop is something very worthwhile, something I need. But in my mind, I'll say, okay, that's 10 hours of my life I'm gonna give them for that laptop. It's not the $50 or the $100, it's how much my life I'm giving. And that helps you think before you spend money. So I usually get buyer's remorse before I buy stuff. Rich people, that's the way they think. Before they buy something, like I was gonna buy this jacket, look really cool, it's a couple $100. And I thought about it and I thought, do I need a jacket? And I thought, no, I don't. I have like 5 in my closet. Instead, I'm gonna use that to buy a share of NVIDIA, the stock. I'll invest it and I'll get some money back over time. It'll grow. I'll enjoy that much better than I will the jacket. The jacket's gonna give me a very low return on investment, no investment, or no return. And on average, within 6 months, it's gonna be in a landfill somewhere, okay? So I'm not saying don't buy stuff that you don't need or want. Like I need a laptop, I'm gonna buy it, but you know, I'm staying in an Airbnb here. I have a beach view here. I don't have to stay at a 5-star hotel. I can afford it, but I don't need it. You know, I can invest the money and have more freedom. So think of your money as energy. It's gonna give you freedom. So start really early as you can, 18, 15. You know, you don't have to wait till you're 22, and start putting money into an investment account like Vanguard. Just buy index funds. Real simple. Oh, what stock do I buy? You don't have to be a stock picker. Do not day trade. Do not buy crypto. That's for people that don't know how to invest. Okay, that's for amateurs. Any pro will tell you, look at Warren Buffett. He's gonna tell you, he has a very negative outlook on crypto and day trading, all that stuff. He's the best investor ever. He's the Oracle of Omaha. So just put your money in index funds, mutual funds, just let it be, don't touch it. Just grow it and use the money as to buy your house, to start funding your travelings. He started going around the world. If you could do these 10 suggestions early in your life, even better. But even if you're 50 years old, 30, 40, 50, 60, if you can develop these things, just try them for like 2 months, 6 months. Trust me, your life will continue to improve. My life is only improving exponentially. I thought I was gonna reach some kind of peak. I'm not. It just keeps going, and it keeps getting better the longer I live. So I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for it. And these 10 principles have really helped me stay anchored. Be gracious, you know, be constructive, be productive, focus on your health, focus on being kind. Thank you for watching. And from Santa Marta, Colombia, this is Dr. Ernesto. Thank you and goodbye.